All right. My okay, man. Okay. I made a joke. I don't think I've ever witnessed a sweep watching the Stanley Cup ever. Um, Almost witnessed it in 21 with Tampa and Montreal. I really have a feeling like Florida might just sweep Edmonton. Like I was joking about it earlier. I was joking about how like, oh, they're just not ready. They're not ready. They're not, as locked in as Florida is. But man, that second period, I thought, hey, McDavid's going to come out. It's probably going to put two on him. Oilers win 4-2. But that is not at all what happened. By the end of the second period, we knew who was going to win the game. We knew that Florida was one win away from hoisting the Stanley Cup. Bennett, Barkov, who else? Was it Tarasenko? Tarasenko also had one. They just dominated, and it was 4-1 in the span of 90 seconds, I believe it was. So how miserable that must have been for Edmonton fans. Now, it did get fun there at the very, very, very end with some late game goals. There was the one that deflected off of Mika, and then the second one. Oh, who scored the second one? I wrote it down here. Hold on. Hold with me. Oh, McLeod, yes. McLeod, because McDavid drove it the second time off the face-off, and it went like under Bobrovsky right to McLeod, and he had if McLeod would have gotten the shot off, it easily would have been a 4-4 game. And who knows, because then it turns into overtime, and anything can happen in overtime. I find it funny, too, that I joked about how this series in the NBA Finals are playing in the same trajectory, where it's like Boston the other day went up 3-0. Florida went up 3-0 tonight. Out of their big five and stuff, they were talking in the third period of game 3, none of them have a goal. I think that is so impressive on the part of the Florida Panthers defense. And there's a part of me, because it showed a stat, and I was just blown away by the stat, that from January 12th of 2023, when they are leading by 2 goals or something, the Florida Panthers are 64-0-7. So they've they've lost because they've lost the 7 overtime games, something like that. But what is so impressive to me is ever since January, February, that middle of the run, and then they talked about how, they even got into the playoffs because Pittsburgh melted apart. Yes, they did. I remember, in 2023, we were supposed to be the 8th seed. We were supposed to go play the Bruins and get swept or whatever. The amount of turnaround that the Florida Panthers have done, a complete 180 in that franchise, in the building, where they've been unstoppable. And they are a well-oiled machine, no pun intended, knock on wood, because Oilers, that they're up 3-0 now. They have a deeper roster, a better roster. For a split second there, they outshot and outscored Edmonton. Hold on, let me do some simple math here. Shit. What is 7 plus 4? 11. 11-3. We know this series is over. But I will say this, and this is also the same thing with the Mavs and the reaction to the Mavs, is tonight we either know the fact of the all-time in a best of 7 teams that go down 3-0. I think there's only all-time Stanley Cups included. Only one team's come back in the Stanley Cup. But we either follow history where, Panthers. I think the Panthers, there's something that tells me they probably don't win this next game, and then they go win it in Sunrise for game 5 on Tuesday. Either follow history and follow that trend where, they win. Or either the start of the greatest comeback of all time happens. This is the start. This is the LeBron James sitting with his sunglasses meme, where it's no team's ever come back from 3-1. Do I think it will happen? Absolutely not. No, I think the MVP is going to go to Bobrovsky. There's no reason that it shouldn't. Okay, yeah, they scored 3 goals this game. That's still not to say that next game he probably only gives up maybe 2, and they lose 2-1 or something like that. Or who's to say that they sweep and he steals another game, because he's already stolen 2 from this series. With that kind of performance, he's just turned into a brick wall. There's no stopping it. It's inevitable. And tonight would have been the ultimate like test, and tonight would have been the game where it's like, okay, we pop this thing open, try to get it even. Because, I mean, if they scored 4 goals, 5 goals, or whatever, and their offense was rolling with their power 5, how it usually is, then, okay, it's 2-1. We'll just see how the game is on Saturday night. You know, make this thing 2-2 going back to sunrise. Anything could happen. But with how it's 3-0, we already know Florida's going to win the Stanley Cup. It's a matter of when, not if, when. Do I think the Oilers could turn this into a 6-game series, 7-game series? I don't think so. Just with how, I mean, McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, they've all been virtually absent. Like, some of them get really good looks, not going to lie. And, like, you could see with the aggressiveness of, like, the final 6 minutes, it's like, okay, here we go. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And it just seems like, okay, yeah, McDavid has a lot of good looks and a lot of good shots. But, like, at the end of the day, like how they were talking about it, like, it doesn't matter because as long as it's not hitting the back of the net, it doesn't matter. Edmonton's probably going to get a win. There's no way they get swept. There's no way they get swept. I think they find a way. And it's kind of like how Game 4 was, I think, with Florida versus Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay just blows them out 4-0 in the first period. And then I could see that being how Game 4 is, because I don't think Edmonton would lose 2 in a row at home and get swept. But that would be so how American of us to sweep and win the Stanley Cup on Canadian soil. That'd be so funny. But that's such a bad joke. But yeah, I think Edmonton, like with my original thoughts where I was like, okay, Panthers in 6, and then with how the first game went, I was like, you know what? This could turn into maybe a Panthers in 7. We'll just see how they bounce back. It's probably going to be Panthers in 5. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on that. I will catch you all in the next video.